not to be confused with malediction. A valediction, or complimentary close in American English, is an expression used to say farewell, especially a word or phrase used to end a letter or message, or the act of saying parting words whether brief or extensive. For the greetings counterpart to valediction, see salutation. Alternatively, valediction can refer to the final prayers and remarks at the graveside before burial given by the presiding priest, after the Mass and the rite of final commendation, during a Roman Catholic funeral service. English, valedictions normally immediately precede the signature in written correspondence. The word or words used express respect, esteem, or regard for the person to whom the correspondence is directed, and the exact form used depends on a number of factors including, the formality of the correspondence, the relationship to the recipient. Conventions also change over time and differ according to language. English valedictions typically contain the possessive pronoun yours. Yours faithfully, yours truly, or yours sincerely. Earlier style closings were usually much longer, and often a complete sentence. Formal valediction, English language valediction typically contain the word yours, a contraction of your servant. Valediction was traditionally voluminous, a complete sentence of the form, I am, sir, your most humble and obedient servant, A.B. Or, I beg to remain, sir, your most humble and obedient servant, A.B. Or, I remain, sir, your faithful and obedient servant, A.B. This form is occasionally abbreviated to, your obt svt, A.B. The phrase etc. may be used in place of the remainder of the valediction, as in, I am, etc., A.B. Or, yours, and c, A.B. As well as, yos, A.B. In modern English, highly formal valediction includes, sincerely, I am, A.B. Yours sincerely or faithfully. In British English, valedictions, especially formal ones, have largely been replaced by the use of yours sincerely, or yours faithfully. Yours sincerely is a shorter form of the archaic I am yours sincerely, while similarly yours faithfully is a contraction of I remain, sir, your faithful and obedient servant. Yours sincerely is typically employed in English when the recipient is addressed by name and is known to the sender to some degree, whereas yours faithfully is used when the recipient is not addressed by name or when the recipient is not known personally by the sender. One way to remember this is the saying S and S never go together, or remembering Sir Faithful. When the recipient's name is known, but not previously met or spoken with, some people prefer the use of the more distant yours faithfully, at the risk of annoying the recipient. In American English, sincerely yours, or sincerely are commonly used in formal correspondence. Faithfully yours is rare. Yours truly can carry either or both of two connotations, as a valediction, and by implication, as an informal reference by a person to themselves the speaker. Yours truly is also used in professional correspondence when writing to a client by his name, but signing the letter in the name of the firm where neither yours faithfully, or yours sincerely would be appropriate. For example, Dear Mr. Brown, yours truly, Pulaski and Jones, as valediction, commonly appearing in the US as yours truly, or yours very truly. Use in the UK was an indication that the recipient was of a higher status than the signatory. Very truly yours is the shorter, modern form of I am very truly yours, with yours indicating something like your servant. In the Spanish language, there is a similar formal closing for letters that translates roughly as I am your sure servant. For those who pay attention to old-fashioned manners, sincerely yours was regarded as appropriate only for social correspondence, and not business correspondence, while such closings as cordially, or best regards are always inappropriate for business letters to strangers, and their use may be considered silly and uninformed by the recipient. As self-reference, yours truly made the cake. A more affected, tongue-in-cheek way of saying I made the cake. If yours truly hadn't been sick that day. In this manner, one may sarcastically refer to a third person present in the conversation. Everything was going fine before yours truly, here, showed up. Yours I is a Scottish expression meaning yours always, and is occasionally used by sailors or people working in a maritime context. Yours hopefully is occasionally used in letters of respect or complaint. Yours, etc. Used historically for abbreviated endings. Can be found in older newspaper letters to the editor, and often in U.S. legal correspondence. And c. may be seen instead of etc. In Jane Austen books, some letters are signed yours, etc. or yours sincerely, etc. Regards, kind regards, best regards, increasingly common in business usage. Regards is often used as a semi-formal valediction in emails. Kind regards, and especially best regards, is meant as a way of addressing close friends or loved ones or a close working relationship. A common error is to say best regards, or kind regards in formal letters, which perhaps shows a misunderstanding of the term. In informal usage, best regards and kind regards are often abbreviated to BR or KR. The use of kind regards is most likely derived from the more formal, kindest regards, which is itself a phrase derived from the even more formal combination of kindest regards, I remain, yours, or truly yours, or any one of a number of valedictions in common usage. A less common variation is warm regards, which is often used to purposely avoid the aforementioned more common valedictions. Miscellaneous, other less formal expressions exist, often some variant of best wishes such as all my best or, simply, best. For family members or intimates, an expression such as your friend, your loving son or your Albert may be used. Or the name may simply be preceded with all my love or love. Yours fraternally is a frequently used valediction in the labor movement. Less commonly, other adverbs or adverbial phrases may be used, in keeping with the tone of the letter, such as in solidarity or fraternally. Christian clergy often use yours in Christ, sincerely in Christ, or yours sincerely in Christ. Within the United States military services, two complementary closings are often used incorrectly. Respectfully is often used by a senior addressing a service member of lower rank. Very respectfully or respectfully submitted are used by a junior addressing a service member of higher rank. The closing very respectfully may be abbreviated via in brief emails and short notes, but these closings are always written out in formal correspondence. In Army Regulation 25-50 Preparing and Managing Correspondence and Department of the Navy Correspondence Manual SecNav Manual M5216.5 March 2010, respectfully is reserved for a complimentary close when corresponding with the President or a former President. In both regulations, sincerely is reserved for correspondence with senior officers and congressional members. In English, all the above closings capitalize the first word and end in a comma, for example. Yours sincerely. Valedictions in email. Valedictions in formal email are similar to valedictions in letters. On the whole, they are variations of regards, and yours. However, a wide range of popular valedictions are used in casual email but very rarely in letters. These include, cheers, thanks, keep in touch, take care, warmly, love, best, peace, all the best, be well, HTH, TTFN. Email messages, especially those used for very brief communication, are commonly signed off without valedictions, these being replaced by automatically appended signature texts. Some are not signed at all, since a sender's name is usually provided in the message headers. French. Standard French language valedictions tend to be much more complex than standard English ones, more akin to older English valedictions. They show a fair degree of variation, for example, vale is aigre copyright Madame, Monsieur, l'expression de mes sentiments distingue copyright s. Please accept, Madam, Sir, the expression of my distinguished sentiments. Or, vale is recevoir, Madame, mes sincères salutations. Please receive, Madam, my sincere salutations. Or, je vous prie de croire, Monsieur, à mes sentiments les meilleurs. I beg you to believe, Sir, in my best sentiments. In the latter case of a formula beginning with the first person, the valediction is often enhanced with a participial phrase concluding the sense of the letter, Esper copyright rent recevoir in ra copyright ponce favorable, je vous prie d'agre copyright Madame euro, hoping for a favorable answer, I beg you to allow, Madame euro. A number of rules concern the use of these formulae. The title used in the salutation of the letter must be reproduced in the valediction. So a letter addressing Madame la Dare copyright put a copyrightee would conclude, Valelis, Madame la Dare copyright put a copyrightee. The wording recevoir l'assurance should be used in a letter from a hierarchical superior to an inferior, whereas the wording agra copyright l'expression should be used in a letter from a hierarchical inferior to a superior, and not conversely. In a letter from a man to a woman or from a woman to a man, the writer must not send sentiments if they are not close family relatives. Such formulae may be used even in more friendly letters, often with the adjective cher or cari for the recipient. Letters to dignitaries may use even more grandiose styles, such as, Dignes, Monsieur le Premier Minister, aigre copyright l'expression de ma consider copyright ration traes distinguer copyrightee. Dane, Mr. Prime Minister, to allow the expression of my most distinguished consideration. Or more commonly, Valelis aigre copyright Monsieur le Premier Minister, l'expression de ma traes haute consider copyright ration. Please accept, Mr. Prime Minister, the expression of my highest consideration. According to the French typographic rules, the proper capitalization for the official title is Premier Minister, although people who mimic English titles or fear that they might appear disrespectful often use more capitals than the rules commend. Valelis aigre copyright Madame l'Ambassadeur, l'expression de mes salutations les plus respected users. Please allow, Madame Ambassador, the expression of my most respectful salutations. Another French typographic rule also states that when addressing someone, styles like Monsieur, Madame, Mademoiselle, should never be abbreviated, even if followed by a title. Much shorter styles may be used in brief notes, and informal letters may use expressions such as, amicament, amicia copyright s, a euro bien t, or plaisir de vous revoir, bien amicament, bien avus, cordialement, meilleurs salutations. Salutations distinguish copywriters, unlike in English. When the letter writer has a title that is unique in his or her organization, it is placed before, not after, the name. Valelis recevoir, Monsieur, mes sincères salutations. La vice pra copyright sident des ressources humaines, AB, Hebrew. Formal letters in Hebrew often end with chivodona, or somewhat less formal by vracha. The informal ones may use cult of. For an intimate, you might end a letter or email with mitgeager, or mitgeagert, missing you. Jews in the United States often use pshalom, or shalom within Jewish circles, for example, from a rabbi to his congregation. This is an American Jewish usage, rarely heard from native speakers of Hebrew. Pshalom is incorrect, as it is religiously tantamount to wishing death on someone. Indeed, the Talmud says, in bidding farewell to the living one should not say, go with peace, lech shalom, but go to peace, lech shalom, because, King David said to his son Absalom, go with peace, and he went and was hanged. Whereas Jethro said to Moses, go to peace, and he went and succeeded. Talmud, Mode Katan 29a, German. Valedictions in German tend to be subject to similar flexibility as in French, are however a great deal less complex. The highly formal form Tunsvoll has been practically obsolete for many years and is very rarely used in modern German, except for highly formal correspondence from authorities or in letters with a highly negative connotation where friendliness would not be appropriate. The standard business valediction is mit freundlichen Gra 1/4 an and is equivalent to yours sincerely or yours faithfully in English. A more seldom used variant of this is mit freundlichen Grüße, which is as above but in the singular form. Other semi-formal alternatives include mit besten Gra 1/4 an, best Gra 1/4 I, mit herzlichen Gra 1/4 an, vile Gra 1/4 I, Paragraph nie Gra 1/4 I. German valedictions also offer the possibility of adding your location, for example mit freundlichen Gra 1/4 an aus Berlin to added effect. While this is no less formal, it does have a more relaxed feel to it. Other less formal location-centric variations are also possible, such as vile gra 1/4 ios dem sonogen Barcelona. These valedictions are also often adapted to specific professions, states or political views. For example, it is common to use mit Solidarischen gra 1/4 an among socialist and communist groups, mit Gewerkschaftlichen gra 1/4 an or mit Kollegialen gra 1/4 an among labor union members, mit Kameradschaftlichen gra 1/4 an among military personnel, mit Sportlichen gra 1/4 an among sportspersons, and mit Gebercurrency Redenfundlichen gra 1/4 an among persons hard of hearing. More familiar valedictions in German follow the same formula. Als Lieb or Lieb gra 1/4 are common in German for friends or family. Friends or close colleagues among each other may use simply Grüße. It is possible in informal and rapid email communication to sometimes use abbreviations of the forms, unlike in English. In this way, mit Freundlichen gra 1/4 an may be shortened to MFG and Lieb gra 1/4 I may be shortened to LG. A popular form in Germany in recent years, HDL and HDGDL has found increased usage in SMS text messaging and emails and more intimate relationships. Judges have deemed that Section 86A of the German Criminal Code forbids the use of mit Deutschem Grüße, as it has National Socialist overtones. Portuguese, formal valedictions should end with a comma followed by a paragraph where the valedictor's name is identified. Depending on the occasion, different degrees of formality are adequate, ranging from highly formal to totally informal. Some formal valedictions can be used at different formality degrees, but almost never in informal situations. Highly formal valedictions, como os melhores cumprimentos, respeitosamente, reverentemente, com protestos da minha elevada estima e considero picavolt poundo, formal valedictions, atenciosamente, atentamente, Sauda picavolt micronas a cada copyright micas, semi-formal valedictions, cordialmente, com amizade, cumprimentos, Sauda picavolt micronas cordiae, informal valedictions, abraçação no, also abraçação os. Some common variants include forte abraçação o and grande abraçação no, ata copyright jar, also ata copyright depois and ata copyright logo, beijo. Also beijos and grand beijo, beijinho, also beijinhos, muitas saudades, sa/sue, tudo de bom, abbreviated valedictions, ABR, ABC, abraçação abbreviated form of abraçação or abraçações, BJ, abbreviated forms of beijo or beijinho, also BJS, cumps. Abbreviated form of cumprimentos, Spanish, saludos, atentamente, cordialmente, amablemente, amorosamente tiernamente union cordial saludo, reciba un cordial saludo, un abrazo, abrazos union beso, bezos, Hungarian, tisztelettel, very formal, means with regards, or the paragraphs lettel, somewhat formal, assumes existing relationship. Often used between colleagues. Literally means greetings, AOEDV, an informal form of the paragraphs lettel. Very frequently used in emails. Pussy, means kiss on the cheek. Often used within family or between girlfriends. Pussz or pusszontia, non-dictionary forms of pussy. Pussanta s, even though is literally means pussy, it is considered as a funny and a bit rude form of AOEDV. K, means kiss on mouth. Used between couples only. column or column, it is actually a greeting of elderly people, sometimes also used as valediction. In the first half of the 20th century it was also used to greet or say goodbye to young ladies. Literally means kisses on the hand. Paragraphs are paragraph n, literally means flood of kisses. It is definitely not to be meant literally. It is rather considered as a funny form of AOEDV. Literally means pipe. Probably a derivative of Italian ciao. Very informal valediction. Z, carne, very informal variants of Pa or pa, toddler word used when waving with hands. Rarely used by adults. Swedish, paragraph gakt ninsfult, med var currency nlig har currency lsoning, or, Med var currency nliga har currency in informal emails often written, MVH, or, var currency nligen. Jar currency rtliga har currency cram, Japanese, keigai, heigai, kashiko, see also, business letter, salutation, valedictorian, references. External links, Ask Oxford, French valedictions for English speakers.